Uh-oh.
Where's Chad?
Chad had to go get some stuff for the thing.
Yeah.
There he is. There he is. Now he left. It's just us.
Yeah.
So welcome to the
It's gonna be
show. Chad is just playing trickery right now. He's playing the Houdini game.
We'll make it a good show anyway.
Yeah. So this is Aaron. I'm Ryan from Streetcar Chronicles, and this is Beards, Burnouts, and Beer.
Oh,
And there's Chad. There he is.
I'm trying.
From a different angle. Dude, you're like Houdini right now.
I know. It's not my fault.
Amazing.
Things are not happy.
I had that problem earlier.
There we go. Now we're good. Woo. Otis was losing his mind at the dog next door, so I was running like a madman.
Oh.
All right. So, yes, welcome to the show. Ryan, look at that. First time pointed the right direction.
Dude,
never happens. Never
That's pretty legit.
Never happens.
Yeah.
And Aaron Spitzer in the house from Texas Precision Performance. Look at us both wearing this fine apparel.
I don't
Awesome.
I don't have one of the shirts. I feel left out. That's fine.
It's good. It's great. You got a good Texas Radio Roundup shirt on.
I do.
I'll tell you, we have some fun stuff to talk about today. I was at the Holly's LSFest Texas with Ryan this last weekend. Had a great time there. That was super cool. We had a good time. It was long days. I mean, long days.
Yes.
But it was fun. We had a good time. We may or may not have pissed off, or not pissed off, annoyed, aggravated, perhaps, some of our fellow drag racing staff with our radio antics. Because I made sure that Ryan was wingman, which nobody knew who that was. So they're like, who the hell is wingman that Chad's talking to? And then, of course, Ryan was like, 10-4, good buddy. And we went full on trucker, and it was awesome. And, and we laughed like little kids.
There's only like 4 people that know what needing a love boat is. That's all I got to say.
Exactly. Oh, and we had way too much fun. Ryan was at the top end of the racetrack calling the action, videoing the finish line on the drag strip, and also periodically running out there to see if there was any oil on the racetrack, and then coming back. And then there were a group of us up at the starting line. We had specific radios for that. And so we started going, while we talked to him. So he thought his radio was bad. So he comes hauling ass up to the starting line. I think my radio's bad.
Jerks.
Oh, hey, we needed it. I got yelled at. It was not good. There was
whatever.
Things that happened, but you weren't there for the yelling. But we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that. I don't want to call people and get yelled at more. So, but yeah, it was cool. We had fun, and it was a great event, dude. The weather was so epic on Saturday. Friday, not so much. We had lightning over and over and over again. And so that sucked, but man, we had a good time. So it was cool.
It was a really good time. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it last year. I kind of missed having my other sidekick, but Duddy did a great job of filling in. And they're both named Eric. So, it's kind of like I traded out one Eric for another.
Well, and Duddy is not a drag racer per se. I mean, not in the, not the same as we are. He'd never been like no prep at the starting line. Like he goes, okay, what's happening here? I'm like, here, hold this iPad and video because we need to see the crack of the tire. And he did a great job, and he had fun. It was cool.
Yeah, and the Eric the Gray Ghost is already getting all kinds of flack in the comments. We got some of course, Ray's in there calling Eric the special one.
Yes, exactly. Barnalicious in the house. Thank you so much. We had a good time. Regardless, we had a good time. We definitely stirred the pot and caused a little bit of trouble. But what have you been up to, Aaron?
Oh, just working, man. Just working. I literally worked up until 10 minutes before this started. So just been busy building third members and keeping customers happy. I mean,
so for those at home that don't know, Aaron Spitzer, who used to be with Quick Performance. Anybody that was doing business with Quick would know Aaron from there. And you left. How long has it been now? Has it been a year?
It's been about a year, a little short of a year from when we launched Texas Precision Performance, but we're rolling. I mean, we're rolling. We're doing good. I mean, we just do third members. We don't do the housings and axles that Quick Performance does. They're still a great company. I moved down here to be close to family and do my own thing at my own pace, and it's been good. I mean, the Texas faithful, as I call them, that like to spend their money in Texas have been awesome. Plus, prior customers from coast to coast that I dealt with in other companies over the years. Chad, and you and I were just talking that, we've known each other for 10 years and a lot of good memories. I remember, the finish line at Streetcar Nationals, a few years back, and, sipping on some sippy cups there, so it's just been a lot of good friends in the industry having a great time,
Well, and for those that are looking for a third member to get built, whether it's streetcar stuff or drag race stuff, whatever you're looking for, look up Texas Precision Performance, and Aaron can get you set up. It's funny. Aaron sends me these random little text messages and stuff. Like the other day, he sent me this new tool for putting bearing races in, and he's like, "This is the greatest tool ever." And it's this badass like air hammer bearing driver trick deal. It's pretty neat. So you've been building rear ends though for a long time, right?
So I managed people for a long time, but I've always known how to build rear ends. So it's one of those things. I'd fill in when we were busy at Quick. I'd go over to what we call our center section building, and I'd go and build on the weekends and stuff and help get caught up and get the lead time down. I never was a full-time builder till I came down here, but I've always built rear ends. The tool I sent you was actually, it's made by Lyle, and it's a race driver setup, but it comes with the air hammer attachment for the race driver. And I'm telling you, that's a game changer. If you can drive a race into a housing in 5 seconds square with one hand, and I freeze all my races, so they're always undersized anyway. But I mean, it's like you're not sitting there with a hammer pounding it in. I mean, literally, it's just brrr, and it's done. I mean, because time is money. I mean, absolutely. That's where, my press, I should send you a video of that. So I have electric over hydraulic press.
Yeah.
So it literally just goes down and crushes stuff. So it's amazing. So everything that you can do to be more efficient.
Besides being quicker, you said it's straight. It's the thing that guys at home, when you're putting a race in anything, right? Whether it's in a hub, whether it's in a rear end, whatever, there's always that, oh my God, I hope this is going straight. And every time, like you put it on the press, there's always that nanosecond where it's a little crooked and you're like, please God, straighten out and don't grab an edge. And it goes chunk and it's right. And you're like, oh, thank you.
Jesus.
Oh God.
No, it's awesome. And the funny part is I bought that kit a year ago and didn't realize the attachment was there for the air hammer until I was doing this housing. And I was like, well, this makes a lot of sense now, but for anybody putting their own races in, hubs, whatever it is, I would highly recommend throw them in the freezer for an hour. Just get them to shrink up a little bit. They go in so much easier. And the benefits of the air hammer, I didn't bust one knuckle, didn't miss a swing with a hammer, it just went in. So, that's a big deal,
Oh yeah, that's a plus.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was in my younger years, we used to do something that now would be considered horrible. Okay. But back when a can of R12 Freon was like 99 cents, I'd have 20 of them on the shelf, and I didn't own cars with AC. And we used them just to freeze parts, and so like rocker studs that were press-in rocker studs, you'd pull an old one out that was bent or broken. You'd freeze this thing with the Freon, set it there and hit it with a hammer one time and it'd drive it right home. you know, and again, ruining the environment one R12 can at a time. I will take credit. I'm sorry. But that, I mean, that's what we did, you know, but yeah, freezing it. If you put it in a bowl of ice water in the freezer, it will freeze up in a hurry. And it makes a huge difference. Cause what's the interference fit on a race like that? I mean,
it all depends. I mean, it depends on the application. I mean, some of the bigger races have more interference than the smaller races. But you know, I would guess it's probably around 3 to 5 thou, you know, overall. And you can shrink it. I mean, it's not going to drop in, but it's gonna make it a lot easier to slide in. You know, it's the same thing as, you know, quite a few years ago, I was at a track up in Mission, BC, and the guy broke a 12 bolt in a super stocker, and well, we didn't have a press. So, you know what? You bring out the trusty barbecue and you have the tongs and you put the inner bearing on there and you take a couple drinks of Crown. And then when it's nice and hot, you go over there and you have your shim on there and you just basically, you drop it down and it just sinks to the bottom. And, you know, your bearing's pressed on because you expanded it.
Right.
You know,
that's awesome.
So, and that car left with wheels in the air, like 4 feet in the air. I mean, it was a true super stock, like a 95 Firebird, you know how those left.
Oh,
I mean, just
huge, GT cars, they all stood up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, we got them back on the track next day.
That's awesome. Well, it's, I'll tell you, I've built 12 bolt rear ends, you know, growing up because we're Chevrolet guys and that's what we had and everything, right? Because we ran stock eliminator and you couldn't put a 9-inch in, right? You had to run a 10 bolt or a 12 bolt. That was what the rule required. So we always ran 12 bolts and everything. And so, I mean, I remember just years of sitting there setting up a rear end, and a 12 bolt is a ton harder to set up than a 9-inch because of the fact that you have to use all the shims. It's just, God, what a pain. I remember the first time I built a 9-inch, the first time I built an 8-inch, and the first time I built like an old dropout center section, like 57 Chevy or whatever it was rear. And I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. I can take a punch and put it in the ring and just turn the adjuster. What? I mean, it was like, this is magic. It was the greatest thing ever. I love that. But I mean, I'll tell you, every time I ever built a rear end, I was like this. You get it the first time and you drive it and you're like, that doesn't make any noise. When? I mean, that was the whole judgment, was like, it doesn't make any noise. Because it didn't matter how much you checked the pattern. There was still in the back of your head, you're like, this thing's going to be loud or something. It's going to suck.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we're good.
No, yeah.
So,
and there's good parts and bad parts in. I mean, you'll get good results.
Oh, yeah. So, one more thing I want to ask about rear end since you're here. I know that parts shortages have been a thing. Ring and pinions and get. What else is hard, or is that easing up? Is it getting easier to find those parts, or what? Rose up.
Man, I thought he was giving us the suspenseful hold.
Oh,
I thought he was putting.
So the main problem is pro gears, and mainly it's because everybody wants to go small tire racing. They want to go radial racing. And so a lot of the squeeze is like 350, 370s. A lot of them are the 9.5s and the 10-inch gears for like the No Prep Kings guys. So those are the things that are really tight right now. What a source told me was, because Moto was supposed to have these like back in November. And that's the main source that most of the quality gear guys use Moto gear. Shameless plug. I get nothing for it, but I mean, that's what I use. So they get their pro gears, which is 9310 material, out of Italy. Well, what I heard is that John Deere lost a plant over in Korea. And so they came to the plant in Italy, placed $149 million PO, and they took all the pro gears and they shifted them to the side and didn't finish them and did all the John Deere stuff, because agricultural and big truck stuff goes for a lot more money.
Gotcha. So wow.
That's what I got told in the industry by my sources.
Yeah.
And right now, like Motive saying that we're not going to see some ratios until October right now. So when we get in the middle of July, August timeframe and stuff starts breaking really bad, we're going to see a real problem. Now, when it comes to regular bracket race 9-inch gears, besides those lower numerical ratios like the 350s, 370s, the most common stuff is still readily available. Your 410s, your 430s, 456s, those are still readily available in normal 9-inch diameter right now. But what's going to happen is a lot of these guys that have bigger horsepower are going to be gambling on a smaller diameter gear, and so they're going to start gobbling those up too. And you got 50 cars that are going to go into NPK that all run between I'll say the most common is like a 457 to a 50 gear, 471, 486. All those ratios are going to be completely hosed by July. I mean, it's going to be a scramble.
See, and one thing people don't understand about the No Prep Kings stuff this year, if they haven't paid attention, is that there are like 8 weeks in a row that those guys are racing. The schedule is ridiculous this year. I was just talking to Sean this weekend, at LSFest, and he and I were talking about it. He said, dude, we're back to back for so long. Goes, I don't even know. It's horrible, but it's because the NPK, the promoters putting it on, they want to just go every weekend and make a ton of money and make a bunch of TV. And I get it, so.
Well, and then they're going to have basically 40 invitational racers, and then there's going to be 10 in a bullpen, basically. So if Sean or somebody can't make a race, they can pull somebody out of the bullpen to fill their team, is my understanding. I talked to Damon this morning for about an hour, and we were talking about it and, going over his combination, some stuff for him. And, but yeah, it's going to be a weird format because you're used to the NOLA and the 405 and the, all these, common team names, Team Texas, and now it's just going to be, Team Sean, or, whoever else. So it's just kind of.
It is weird because now it's like, Dave and I were talking about it at Texas Radio Roundup, and he said it's like being in grade school and choosing teams for a basketball game. That's literally how it is now, and so he said, how crappy will it be when you're the last dude standing that nobody picked up, and I laughed. I'm like, yeah, good point. So who knows?
Well, I had the similar conversation with Damon because Damon Merchant isn't a household name in 405 yet, I wouldn't say. But he's a really good dude, really down to earth. And he's like, well, he goes, I don't even know if I'm going to get picked. And I'm like, I don't know if a lot of these guys are going to get picked because it's going to be down to, are they putting in the time to test and get their stuff right? Or is it going to become a popularity contest, like you said, like in grade school? So are you actually going to put together a team of your buddies? Or are you actually going to put together a team that you think is going to win it all?
Right.
Me being me, I like to win.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I would pick with
you on that.
I would pick the guys that I know they're going to put in the time, put in the effort to test, are going to share data. And the one thing I think you are going to see is you're going to see similar combinations grouped together because of the data aspect. That would be smart.
Right.
Just my opinion. But that would be the smart thing to do. Seeing a group of blower guys, screw blower guys together, maybe a group of nitrous guys together, turbos, whatever it is. But that would be the smartest thing to do, in my opinion. If I was putting together, if I was a turbo guy, I'd be looking at all the other turbo guys as my number, my number one picks, because I need somebody to share data with,
Yeah. And that's a smart play. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
The other thing about it is, besides combos, and this sounds horrible to say on the one hand, but you want the guy on your team that has the money to be able to run all the races too, right? The guy that is as committed as anybody, but if he breaks one motor and kills more than 2 cylinder heads, he's got no spares and no money to do it. Like that guy, it could be a hindrance later on. He could be a weakness. So that's a tough thing.
Well, and that's where you take a guy like, if you run a Hemi, and not all Proline Hemis are the same. I got that education before.
Yep.
So it's not like if, Ryan's running a Hemi and Dave's running a Hemi, they can actually swap parts. You would think so, but it's not reality.
Right.
At the same time, I would want somebody with a similar combination, but there's something to be said for having guys that, you go to altitude, and I've said this since day one, you go to altitude, a nitrous car should win every time in altitude.
Yeah.
Over the turbos and the screw blowers and everything else, because they're still limited to their percentage overdrive regardless of the altitude. So if they can't run the more percentage of overdrive, they can't charge the engine anymore. Nitrous, it makes its own atmosphere. So I mean, you got Boise, or you got Vandermeer, places like that. Nitrous cars should always win if they're tuned properly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So you'd almost want a nitrous guy on your team, a good nitrous guy, to be able to, just to have one for those races. I mean, just thinking ahead. I mean, hell, I should have been in the lead for team captain.
Okay, but now let me ask you guys both this: Daddy Dave's Audi, what do you think? I knew Ryan was going to say that. I will tell you, I was going to
let Ryan go first.
I'm an old car guy to the core, but that car is badass looking. It's beautiful.
It is. It is.
And it is the first car that he's had in a long time that he actually fits in comfortably, normal, without having the steering wheel in his face or whatever and all that. So he's excited about it. I think it's going to end up being really fast.
I think it's cool. But
if you ever built a Chevy 2, I mean a Chevy 2 does not have a lot of room in the driver's compartment. I built a 66 chassis car. Yeah. I looked out the rear quarter window. That's how far back my funny car cage was, because I needed enough room. I'm not a super tall guy, but I'm a big guy.
Yeah.
I think the Audi is sexy. I mean, I do. I just the body lines, everything else. I think it's a sexy looking car. I think that over the brick that he was driving, if he doesn't pick up a 10th at least, I'd be amazed just on the slipperiness of the body versus the brick. And trust me, I love old Novas, Chevy 2s, but there comes a time where you can't have 20 Camaros out there and Mustangs. So thinking outside the box, I think, is a good thing. I mean, I think it is.
It's just in my mind, and it's just, all it is an opinion, right? When I look at a race car, I'm just so used to seeing the older stuff. So, when they started coming out with the newer Cadillacs, like what's his name with the blue one?
Larson.
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 Yeah, when he came out with the blue one, and then now Stinky Pinky's a pink one, and it started growing on me. I thought it was a pretty good looking car, but it was still, I don't know, it didn't appease my eye like a Nova or a first gen Camaro, whatever,
Right.
And so the Audi is a lot different, but it's a good looking car. I mean, the car looks like it ought to be fast. I just hope it's as fast as it looks.
Right. Oh, I'm sure. Well, I was going to say we'll never know. Some of us will know, but the public will never know.
No, the public will know.
Some of us will know.
Yes,
100%.
Yeah, some of us will know for sure. Some of us might already know, but Monty Fitzgerald in the house. My dude, Monty just had surgery so that he could feel the arm that went dead from a pinched nerve. So that's awesome. Glad you're in the house there, Monty. Monty is asking, what about Monza and his new Chevelle? I think it's weird. Okay, just like it's weird that Dave is in an Audi, it's weird for Monza to be in a Chevelle. Just feels odd instead of a Camaro. But my understanding is that car is going to be badass. I believe we saw a sneak peek of it today on Facebook. But I'd have to check and see. But I believe that what's his name? That's the chassis builder that's doing Monza's car. I can't remember his name. No.
Is it CJ?
Yeah, CJ. It is CJ. Yep. So I think that he put, I think he did a post with a picture of it. Let me see. I'm looking on Facebook to see right now, but I believe, yes, here it is. Yep. Hold on. Let me save this picture and I'll share it with the world. It's a pretty good looking car. Not going to lie. I guarantee you that it's going to be, it's going to be fast. CJ seems to build some really cool stuff. They have been, they've been really working hard at changing up their game and doing a lot of neat, new stuff over there. And they're building cars a little bit different than they used to. And I mean that from an efficiency standpoint. So, we lost Aaron.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's Monza's Chevelle. Pretty cool deal. It's it doesn't say what year it is. I think that's a 70 or 71, I believe.
I think it's a 70. Yeah.
But it's a good looking race car, that's for sure. Here is another picture of it. I'll share with you guys from their Facebook page also. Yeah, look at that. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah. I'm a sucker for a Chevelle. Now,
Me too.
Eric, if Eric was in here, he'd tell me that I was sick in the head because he absolutely despises any Chevelle on the planet. He thinks that all of them that are race cars should be smashed. I don't know why, but
yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, he's very anti-Chevelle, and I am not drinking a White Claw. I'm having water. I'm fresh out of beer, and I got home late from work. Whatever, guys.
I'm drinking water as well, actually. So yeah, there you go. I am. You know me. I'm on the Chad diet. So
yeah.
Monty Fitzgerald says we get way too many Camaros and Mustangs. He's a Nova guy, so he's got a cool Nova.
I like Nova.
So yeah, Ryan has White Claw in that cup. That's awesome.
Whatever.
On the screen. Awesome.
Hey, I don't mind a seltzer. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to admit it. Wagon for the win. You're going down, dude.
Dude, wagons are way cooler than anything else.
He's gunning for.
The only way your 78 Malibu could be cooler is if it was a 78 Malibu wagon with a big block and a ton of
horsepower. Well, that's true. That's true.
And I would have been a very mean friend, because when we had those discussions about what cars you should be building and all that, I would have lied to you and told you to strip it and sell it to me. I would have been a horrible person. I would have bought it from you for $5 because I'd have told you it wasn't worth shit. It would have been awesome. Oh god!
Well, look at all the bench racing going on in the comments already.
I know, it's perfect. It's
dude, it's riling up, man.
I'm telling you. Okay, so I want to talk about one thing. Lycan, I don't remember what model of Audi it is. I'm sorry, I don't remember. If somebody could look it up and tell me, I don't speak Audi.
I think it's an A8.
Is it an A8? Okay, there you go.
I think
it's a coupe, whatever it is. It's a coupe, and it's cool. Richard Treadwell asked a question about cheating at LSFest. There was, we're not going to discuss that. There wasn't. There wasn't. There were two issues at LSFest. One person that a small group of people thought was cheating and was not cheating and, by our rules, by the way, which I developed. And number two, there's Aaron again. And number two was a rule that the staff, and I'll take as part of that team, our staff screwed up on something. And Lycan says A8 is a big sedan, so
maybe it is an A5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be an 8.
I don't know. I don't speak. If anybody can look it up, that'd be cool. But yeah, so there was something that we as a staff screwed up and didn't realize it until it was too late and had to make an executive decision that it was just going to have to stand. It had nothing to do with any configuration on a car whatsoever. So yeah, but that's as much as we're going to talk about. But some of our topics tonight are sort of applicable. And so you could, you may be able to infer something from this, even though we're not going to talk specifics. So,
sure.
So let's get on to our next topic. And Aaron is actually appropriate to talk about this as well, since he's a rear end guy, and rear ends have to do with rear suspension. So, one of the things in the drag racing world that everybody has to live with are whatever rules at an event that you go to, right? Drag and drives over the years have a variety of rules. In the drag and drive world, quite frankly, when hot rods started, the rules were pretty extensive, but they were done by guys that weren't drag racers. And I love Freiberger to death, but he's not a drag racer. And he and the team just weren't really that well equipped to make a really good set of rules. And so in lieu of a good set of rules, they just made them extensive. And so, oh, sorry, that was me, Aaron. So they made the rules really, really long and super detailed, which quite frankly is not a great way to go, in my opinion. Not for a drag and drive. So after years of Drag Week, when Matt Frost decided to start Rocky Mountain Race Week, the rules for each class literally were like 5 to 10 rules. I mean, that was it, right? So it was tire size, weight, chassis configuration, cert, windows, interior, like literally that kind of stuff, right? And so, that's a great way to go, because it makes the rules really simple and makes it really inclusive. And what you do is you make it so that the limiting factor in, these circumstances is the tire, right? Yeah. And that is, the way that modern drag racing really is anyway, right? Like whether it's a no prep series or a regular series, most of them are set up based on weight and tire size. And that weight and that tire size, the weight is determined by a particular combo, right? Whether it's a small block or a big block, whether it's got twins or a single, what the overdrive is on the blower, etc. Right? Right. So what we, did with Rocky Mountain Race Week was to make those simple rules. Again, that's how the no prep world is as well. I think that the fact that Sick Week uses all of Drag Week's rules makes that not good. Here's one of the examples of why. So with the Drag Week rules and subsequently Sick Week rules, which I will say I haven't read in years because I don't build anything that would be on the edge of any of that, so I don't care anymore. But it used to be that you couldn't put a bolt-on front suspension onto a Chevy 2, like Daddy Dave's car, without that moving it into the modified category, which immediately made that thing like a way faster car. Well, anybody that's driven a first-gen Nova knows they're shitty. They are not safe at 90 miles an hour, right? No. They are horrible. So there is no performance advantage to putting that suspension on the car. It doesn't make the car quicker. It makes the car safer.
Yeah, 100%.
They didn't want to hear that, right? So that moved you along. And so lots of guys for years, Frank Saponaro, a lot of these dudes, they drove cars in the low 8-second range with stock front ends under them for way too long. It was scary, scary stuff. And
big balls.
Yeah, big balls, and it just was not good, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to look at rules, and you got to look at them not only as what is the is there a performance advantage, right? You want to negate that, right? So that everybody is, can compete. But at the same time, you got to also look at it from the safety perspective. What do we do to make sure that everybody is good? And so to me, that's why a lot of rules like that just make no sense. In the no prep world and the drag and drive world, especially with like Rocky Mountain Race Week and the newer events, right? They are, there are a lot of classes that are stock style suspension. Okay. Are required. And what that means is if your G-Body Malibu, right? Behind Ryan right now is a 78 Malibu with a big block and a tunnel ram and twin Holly snipers on it because God is good.
Because I'm retarded.
Yes, absolutely. Badass.
Awesome, right? So that car comes from the factory with an A-arm front suspension that is identical to an S10 pickup truck. And I say that the S10 is actually identical to the G-Body because the G-Body came first. But it's very similar to a first or second gen Camaro or any of those. It's your typical GM double A-arm suspension. Some of them were front steer, some of them were rear steer, etc. But generically speaking, it's that same configuration, right?
Right.
In the rear, where a G-Body has a triangulated forelink. Okay, that triangulated forelink is very similar to the triangulated forelink that you'd find on a Fox body Mustang, for example. Okay,
or an A-body.
Yeah, or an A-body Chevelle, exactly. All those the same. Now, a B-body, a big car, like Daphne's wagon, and actually like my '56 Chevy, because it's on a B-body chassis. They also have a forelink under them. The later B-bodies are a triangulated forelink, but the early B-bodies, like the wagon, the 66, it was available as a 3-link in your average cruiser or a 4-link in your heavy duty or station wagons or whatever, like ours, but the upper arms are straight. They're not angled out like a Fox body or an A body or whatever. So and the lowers are actually angled. So the thing about it is those suspension systems are all very similar, right? Leaf springs, we all are familiar with those. That's what's on the back of a Camaro. It's what's on the back of an S10. On a bunch of different, Ford Mustangs, et cetera, prior to the Fox body era, all those things. So one of the arguments that people have is, what is stock style suspension if you get into starting to change things, right? Now, for me personally, I say whether it's a Fox body or it's an F body, like a later F body with a 3-link, right? Torque arm and 2 lower links. Any of them. If you are replacing the factory suspension mount location with a better, stronger, safer piece, like the torque boxes for a Fox body, the adjustable front spring hangers for a first-gen Camaro from Caltrax or any of those, etc., it's still the spirit of the thing. It's still a leaf spring suspension, right? You can put a slider in the rear instead of a shackle. And it's still stock style suspension. You put a Caltrax bar under it to help it. You put a split mono leaf spring from Calvert in it, right? It never came that way. It might have had a mono leaf, but not a split mono, which if you don't know what that is, a split mono, literally the front half of the spring is really thick. And at the center locating pin is where that spring ends a couple inches behind it. And another one that's real thin bolts to it and goes to the back of the car. So they never came that way factory, but it's still a leaf spring. It's still fits the stock style thing to me, right? Same with the Fox body Mustang. You put new torque box mounts in it that have adjustments in them. You put coilovers on it instead of it being the spring on the arm. Like that, who cares? None of that. Like that isn't back halfing it and putting a pro stock 4-link in it. To me.
Well, there's a fine line there though, because you put the bolt-on stuff. You put tubular stuff on. That's stock style. You put maybe some adjustable mounts, on a G body to be able to lower that on the housing side itself. Now, when you get into some of these guys, and the only company that comes to mind right now is like Tin Soldier Race Cars. They make basically a forward mount that is adjustable on the body side. I think that goes beyond the rules, in my opinion, of a stock style, because I think the front mount still has to be the stock locating mount, not adjustable.
Right, because in the G body, it's very hard to get the right angle on the bars up top, and you can't put enough bite in it with the top bars unless you have an adjustment at the front. So 110% agree with you that if you have that, then you have totally changed the geometry of the suspension.
Well, and if you look at,
I look at it and go, for me, it's a matter of inches. Okay. So in my opinion, if that front mount allows you to adjust up and down an inch from factory, that doesn't bother me at all. But if it's a setup that moves it forward and up or down some drastic amount, like if you can't bolt tubular replacement arms onto it, that would be, I guess, where I would say. Like if it requires custom 4-link arms, then I'm with you. So I'm probably a little more leeway than you guys, but I agree with you on the some of them, like you said, Tin Soldier. I think TRZ has one that moves shit a long way. Like that gets questionable, Well,
here's a fun fact for you. Most of the 9-inch aftermarket housings that get built for like G bodies, the upper mount is actually an inch higher or close to it than a factory housing. Because of the size of the housing, you're going from a 7.5 differential that came in most G bodies. We know they came with an 8.5 in some of them, but it literally is almost an inch higher in the back. So that corrects a lot of the angle issues that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So.
What's the deal? Oh, you on the phone?
Oh.
But you're 100% right, Aaron. And a lot of, so like my rear end for the 56, you and I talked about it. You said, do you want your mounts to be in the stock location, right? Width wise and all that. And I said, yes. And a lot of the mounts have multiple adjustment holes as far as mounting locations, but you put the brackets still in the factory location so things will bolt on easy. Well, for me, my car, my 56, like I would have to ask a promoter, like, where do they see my car fitting? Because again, it's an 04 B body chassis under my 56 Chevy, which means that the front end is basically second gen Camaro. Not basically, it is second gen Camaro. And the rear is a triangulated 4-link, which never came under a 56 Chevy, but it is a stock suspension. It's just not the one that would have come on that car,
Yeah. See, so my thing is shock placement. Okay.
Yep.
So that's where it gets a little tricky too. And I've seen where we go to some of these events and, you'll see a bunch of straight up and down shock placement. And that to me makes a world of difference on how the suspension is going to react. So like there was a deal I was watching a while back and there was some discrepancy. It was a G-body race, of course. And I was watching some stuff and there was a discrepancy on that because the guy had the shocks moved in about 2 inches at the bottom. And they wouldn't let him run because his shocks were not in the stock location. And he was arguing the fact that the width of his rear end, created that problem. Well, that's the thing. I have a body 12 bolt in this car.
Right.
And it's not been narrowed or modified. So it's really too wide for the car.
Right.
And they had to move the shock mount in to put it in the stock location in order to fit. So, and that's what was actually going on with the car is it had a wider rear end in it and they had to make mounts to move it to the stock location.
So let me ask you a question.
The problem with that is that every first gen Camaro on the planet that has a set of Caltracs on it has the shocks moved.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're
But
not
let
in
me
the
ask you
stock
a
location.
question
They
about the
won't
G-body.
fit.
So the G-body, though, was it just the shock moved inboard, so basically moved more upright, or was it a coilover?
No, it was just the shock, not a coilover.
See, I wouldn't have a problem with the shock. I'd have a problem with a coilover, but I wouldn't have a problem with the shock because you're not. Most people don't fully understand suspension enough that a spring holds the vehicle up. All it has to do is hold the vehicle up. The shock is what actually does all the movement and,
the control.
Right.
There's actually knobs on there that, all these guys say that the track's junk and I can't do anything, but there's a knob there that you can turn, and 9 times out of 10, you can make the car work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, sorry, I got on a tangent there.
No, you're good.
But I mean, literally the spring holds the vehicle up and the shock does all the work. Now the shock being more parallel or upright, does it have a smoother travel? Yes. But if you're in a triangulated four link situation like a G body, moving that in 2 inches, I don't see an advantage to that.
Yeah.
And I've done a ton of shock, development work with Ride Tech over the years and stuff. And these guys, Lamb, I've spent a lot of time with Derek, and the truth of the matter is that, but I understand the argument. I do, but here's the thing. A shock absorber that is dialed in and tuned to be at, let's just say, this angle, if you straighten it out, it's no longer correct. Now, you may be able to adjust it to get it where it needs to be, but the truth of the matter is the shock angle and the ratio that it's working at, right? Which it is a lot bigger deal on the front, right? So on the front of a car, if you move if the top mount stays in the stock location, but you move the bottom out toward the wheel or in away from the wheel, it drastically changes the leverage that is on that shock absorber and how it will work then. So
there's also
the further away from
load.
the wheel it is, it has to be stiffer in order to have the same control. And so I'm trying to decide how much to say here. In some of the racing that we've done that isn't drag racing, but more road racy junk cars kind of thing, we may or may not have maybe modified a lower control arm to still look stock, but in fact move the bottom of the shock. Since we were only allowed a junk shock, we may or may not have moved it out closer to the wheel so that it was more effective with also the custom gear oil that we filled it with, just saying.
Makes it a little stiffer,
David Reed says, yes, a spring controls the ride height. That is correct. And David Reed says you can use tire pressure and spacers to steer, and that is true as well. If you have a traditional 4-link in a car, then rear steer is a common thing you put in the car to make it leave straight. Some cars need a ton of rear steer and some don't. It just depends. I mean, realistically, they should only need like half a flat or two to get it to go, but it just depends on the car and how it's set up.
Right. I've seen more people get lost with rear steer in race cars than get it right.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's easy to do, especially when you get back there and start moving bars around. I mean, if you don't have a clear understanding of how drastic a turn is on an upper bar on a 4-link, you're going to find yourself going right or left really quick.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to go down the track like this and just start like cranking the wheel because,
like mine's not set up right now, and I know it's not. I haven't had a chance to really actually spend time doing it. So I only made one lick at the track, and the left side of the rear end sucked way in, and it started driving the back of the car right. Now, partially it's because I don't have an anti-roll bar in the car yet, which G-bodies just should have had those in the factory.
Right.
But,
no shit.
But I have an anti-roll bar. I'm going to try to get in before the birthday race so I can get the car to, go, actually plant and go. But you see guys all the time making adjustments and the car putting the tire left and right, and you're like, dude, what are you doing?
Right.
I'll give you guys a little tip from a buddy of mine that a few years ago. So I replaced the Heims and cocaine, and
which is his car.
My car. So I thought I did it right. Went to the track, and I'm going down the track, and of course I'm steering the car to keep it straight in the groove. And so I know I have rear steer in the car. I'm working 60 plus hours a week. I don't have time to deal with it. My buddy, his name's Mike Chitty, races Top Sportsman. He says, drop it off at my shop. I'll take care of it. So I go over there during my lunch real quick, and he's got a set of 3-foot calipers. And he literally figured out, I knew I had rear steering and I knew I messed it up, but he had a set of 3-foot calipers, which I had never seen in my life. I bought it there.
You're talking about sliding calipers.
Yes. 3-foot calipers that he literally was measuring my bars with and making sure that he said, you know what? I think you're within a 30-second now.
Wow.
And the car drove completely straight when he was done.
Right.
But I'd never seen a set like that in my life. I mean, I've been around machining and everything else, but I've never seen a set of, dial calipers that were that big. Right. I was like, holy crap. And I'm like, everybody that has a 4-link should have those in their trailer.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So one of the things that, as we sit here talking about stock style, and the difficult part in there is the word style, not stock, right? Mm-hmm. Stock style is the tough part because that leaves it open to interpretation, right? But the big deal is that, you get into some of these no prep series, like for small tire, let's say, all they care about is that it's a 28 1050 and not a W, or a 29 1050 and not a W some places. And that's it. There are no other rules. It doesn't matter if it's a tube chassis car or it's a, stock chassis car or whatever, bring it and run it. In some ways that makes it easier, right? I mean, in some ways that's easier. It's like, dude, if you think you got enough to come play in this group, come play. But
there's still complaints out there.
Of course.
I mean, like Damon Merchant's Medusa, the Mustang he brought out, it used to be a radial championship car. But I mean, it runs the tire. So, I mean, but they were still complaining on a street with it. I mean, people complain anywhere.
Oh yeah. Well, and one of the things too is that, there are also people who their interpretation of the word stock. So a lot of classes will say, they don't care what you do with it. This tire must have stock front suspension on the car. Well, there are people that take that to the actual nth degree and say that means GM factory upper and lower control arms. And that is just not the case. We're racing cars, dude. Like tubular arms is not going there. Like, come on, man. You can put a glass hood on your junk with the factory arms if you want. And this guy can put a steel hood on it with tubular arms, and we're all going to be about the same on weight. Like, that's just not, that doesn't matter.
What the problem is, and it goes back to why we're even going to do the birthday race. And this is what the problem is. The problem is that at one point in time, people just got in a car and they raced each other. And as time goes on, instead of people adapting or being able to overcome the situation, right, they cry about it until they get away. And this is the thing that I have to say. I tell my kids all the time when I coach them in soccer and football, you live by the ref, you die by the ref. Okay, we're all human, right? We're all going to make mistakes. You're going to end up one of these days being in a class against somebody who's faster than you, who's better than you, right? And you have to do whatever you can to try to overcome that. You may not, but you got to try as best you can.
Right.
And the thing of it is, at the end of the day, right, you're racing a car. You're racing a car. You chose to get in a class to race your car. Yep. Somebody else entered that class. You don't like their car, but you still got to race that car.
Right.
And there's a good chance that car might not make it to the end. So it's your best chance to try to avoid that car until it can't make it. Or you do get that. It's just part of the strategy. And sometimes it's the luck of the draw. But at the 100%. End of the day, just enjoy yourself. You're there to have fun. If we were doing this for a living to keep the lights on, it'd be a different story.
Right. But none of us are. And it's funny. And it's funny you say that because My buddy Brandon is the same. Like he says the same thing. You know, every race you go to, ultimately there is a line in the rules that says that the call of the tech official or of the promoter is the final call, and that is what it is, right?
And it is what it is.
Yes. And
it sucks sometimes. It sucks.
Does. And we've all been on both sides of that.
Bro, and nobody wants to be the guy that has to make the call. Nobody wants to be the guy that has to make the call.
No.
Nobody wants to, but somebody has to do it. And at the end of the day, you know what? It just you got to remember. You got to remember, and everyone has to remember why we even do this shit.
Right.
Why do I
keep
throwing money at this thing back here?
Yeah.
Right. Why do I have a 55 that I'll never get built? Right. Because I love it. Right. Yeah. And you love the people you're around. You love the atmosphere you're around. You're like-minded people. You're competitive. Yeah. Yes, that's fine. Oh, yeah. And sometimes the competitive side of thing, it comes down to wallet size, but it just is what it is, right?
Yep.
And sometimes your wallet's a little shorter than the other guys. Sometimes your wallet is short, but your strategy is way better.
Right. And I'll tell you, to me, here's the thing. Like, you got to look at it as having fun. As competitive as anybody. But I think that I've had a different attitude for a long time because of one key thing.
Yeah.
I've never had real money to go racing with, ever.
Me neither.
So I have never.
Me either.
Yeah, I've never been the guy that shows up at an event whose car is like the one people are fearing, right? I mean, doesn't mean I haven't won my fair share of races playing games and doing the other things and all that, right? And just being good at driving. But, you know, I have never been the guy that actually has the very best car on the property. So I think that if you are that guy, if you're me, you have to have the attitude that says, I'm going to throw my dick on the table and I'm going to see how it measures up. And if I'm not the biggest dick, it's okay. Like, and that's how it is. And I can tell you that I have entered races where people went, what in the hell did you really are bringing that? Like, you think you have a game? Oh, hell yeah, I do. Because I am going to have a great time talking huge amounts of shit and making you screw up on the starting line and this and that and the other and have a good time. That's how this is going to go down.
It's just like I tell my kids in sports. It's 50% physical, 50% mental. Yes. If you are not mentally strong, you are not, I don't care how physically strong you are, you will not survive, right? It's the same thing with a race car. You can have a good race car, but if you are not mentally strong, I don't care how fast your car is. You're going to blow the tires off. You're going to put it in the wall. You're going to sleep on a tree. You're going to red light, right? So most of the races I ever raced, which I raced, whatever, whenever I raced on the street, whatever, fun and grudge. I never did anything in a class, or I never class raced. But most of the races I ever won were I screwed them in the head here before we ever even hit the beams or hit the arm drop, right? You win it here. And
that's part of the fun of the whole thing.
That's the fun. I won a stick shift race with a car that would not even run out the back door. We had a problem with it. I went up against Jeff Humphrey, who had an 1,100 horsepower 5.0 twin turbo that should have smoked me with his eyes closed. But before we went into the beams, I talked to him. I said, hey, man, do me a favor. And he goes, what's that? I said, could you tell me if my right taillight's working when we leave up here? Because I think it's going out. And he goes, I was like, look, bud, all I got to say is, the first 60 feet in this car is nasty. You're going to have to use every bit of power you got to make it up on the other end. And what did he do? He got up there, and as soon as he came off the clutch, he came right off the shift handle and pulled it out of first gear. And I took him out in the first round. Should have never done it.
Right.
But, man, when we came back, I was like, I can't believe I smoked you.
I won True Street at North Star in Daphne's car when we were doing the memorial tour with that car. And I was the slowest car at the property in True Street. And I told all of them, I am going to play every game. I did giant burnouts. I did them first. I backed into the top bulb. I rushed them, all the turbo guys. I did all of it. I was the dick. because they had me covered by a second in the 8th mile.
Yeah.
And I won the whole damn thing.
Dude, listen, I'm not gonna hold your hand because you decided to build a turbo car, right?
No.
I'm not gonna hold your hand to make sure your nitrous bottle's on if you built a nitrous car, right?
Correct.
I'm gonna go up there, I'm gonna do my burnout, and you better be ready to go, bud, because I'm putting it in the beams and we're rolling. And if you're not ready, well, you better get ready real quick because I'm double bowling your ass. I don't care. I want to race. I want to go.
Yes.
Right.
Well, and you know, when you talk about that, and Paul Ray Mitchell puts up there shit talking. The truth of the matter is, for me anyway, and you guys tell me, when I was street racing, which was a lot back in the day, dude, the shit talking prior to the racing and after the race was 75% of it. Dude, only 25% of the fun was in the car. The rest was all the smack talk. It was great.
But man, and see that's where drag racing has lost its following, because it has become nothing but serious. No Prep Kings did a great Street Outlaws. They did a great thing for drag racing, right?
Oh, absolutely.
They totally revolutionized it, and I'm thankful for that. But everybody thinks they got to build a 1,500 horsepower car, or they might as well stay at home. And the thing of it is that's why tracks are closing their doors, because the dude who was in the middle of that, right, he quit going.
Because why are you talking about me? I'm right here. I'm right here. Why are you talking about me and my 1,500 horsepower like it's bad?
Right.
I'm right here.
I've never even had anything over 800. This is probably the most horsepower I've ever owned. Okay. I bullshit.
I mean, 1,500 is the new 800.
I know.
You put a couple of Chinese turbos on a 5.3 LS, and next thing you know, you're north of 1,000, and no big deal. You're running on E85,
But guess what?
Well, you know what? It brings me to one other thing, Chad. You drag and drives. You know what? Eliminate split fuel systems.
Dude. Okay, I never ran a split fuel system, so I'm totally down with that. But I got you. Absolutely.
Look, that is a great idea, because I totally agree with that 110%. I mean, it's cool the guys can do that.
Yeah.
It's cool. It was cool. But
I pumped when we were running Daphne's car with 300 worth of spray, which, think about this. I sprayed Daphne's car, 250. We sprayed 250 on an engine that made 400. Okay. Now, I'm totally comfortable spraying equal amounts to what the motor makes. Like, I've done that for years. But this was a car we drove 1,500 miles to get to the event, did 1,500 miles, and then drove it 1,500 back. Okay. Right. So we were being nice to it. But I had to put real fuel in it. So I had a fuel line that we unhooked and an adapter that we plugged into it and pumped the fuel tank out of the pump gas into a jug, and then refilled the system with 110, or 118. Yeah. And then
I have no problem
raced
with that.
it on that, and then did it. It was a pain in the butt, but we did it every day because I only had one fuel system.
You know what? That should be part. That should be part of a drag and drive, though. I mean, back in the day, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you might know better than I do, Chad. But Larson's Nova, back in the day, had a single fuel system.
A long time ago, it did, and when it was the blower car, it had a single fuel system. When he made it into the turbo car, he put two. It had one tank with a divider, so it had race fuel and pump gas.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So you were 100% right. Yep.
I think that you should have to pump it out, flush it through, and then go race, and then put your pump gas back in. That should be part of a drag and drive event. It shouldn't be none of this. I'm going to turn this pump on instead of this pump, and
Right.
I know the technology's there, but
we used to, everybody used to do that back in the day. I mean, that was the normal deal, right? But there's also a bunch of people that say we should do drag and drives where no trailers are allowed. And I don't care. I'm a station wagon guy. I can bring it all. I don't give a shit. Come on, Larson and I started bringing the trailer when we built the S10. But prior to that, and every time he's ever brought the Nova, he never brought a trailer. The Nova never had a trailer. So, and the Nova's way more comfortable to drive than the
at the end of the day, dude, Aaron said it. He said the technology's there, and that's the okay. That to me, and call me old school, call me freaking whatever. That's where technology is a killer, because you're taking the fun out of what it was all about, the spirit of what it was all about, right? And the spirit of what it's all about is trying to make it go as fast as it can on what you've got, and not having all the little tools and things and the apps and the keyboards and the phones and that stuff's cool, but it's taking the spirit and the hardship, because it's supposed to be a journey, right? Like the drag racing is part of it, but it's also the journey.
I mean, how many of us went up to the racetrack, made sure that we had only a quarter tank of fuel by the time we got there?
Yeah.
We'd go over to the pump at the track. We'd fill up with race gas, turn on the nitrous and know that we had a good mixture. You pump some 116 on top of some 92 or whatever it is,
and you're
going to be fine. Go make some laps. And you know what? You go race all night. And then on the way home, you go put pump gas back in it on the way home and drive it home,
Yep.
I mean,
100%.
I did that. That's the spirit of it.
Oh yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
So,
but see, at the end of the day, the thing that gets me and it blows my mind is that everybody gets so goddamn competitive that they lose sight of why they even started doing this stuff sometimes. Like I talk to guys, I've known guys like my buddy Clayton is a fine example. He invested everything he had, all his time, his effort into his S10, and sometimes it worked out in his favor, sometimes it didn't. But he burned himself out to the point where he doesn't even want to touch a car anymore.
Right.
It's because he let it get to the point where he wasn't enjoying it, just doing it. He was only enjoying when he got great results.
Right.
And me, dude, I don't care. Like people talk shit. I'm fixing to bust. There's 4 or 5 guys in this chat right now that when it comes down to my birthday race on the 10th at Redline Raceway, I'm busting their asses. And if I don't, I'm going to dance
to Redline on June 10th, by the way. What time is it going to start?
God, so I wish I had my motor back.
Man,
I know, right?
The gates are going to open at 9, so if people are coming from far away, they're more than welcome to get there early. However, I'm not going to arrive at the track, and probably most of the people until 3 or 4, somewhere in there. Okay. Drivers meeting for Cheap Street. We're going to do 3 classes. So Hollis is going to do the Cheap Street class, which is pretty awesome. They draw for the cap at the track, and I think they do 650,
660, and 670, right?
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll post the rules up, but the rules are trans brake is allowed, no throttle stops, no hard stops, no electronic stops. Full interior, street cars, trucks, 2 front seats, stock Kirky, etc. Factory style dash, door panels, back seat delete is allowed. Must be tagged and inspected and insured. Must be legal for the state the car is from. Not all states require inspections. All glass windows, Lexan rear window allowed for cage passing through. No back half cars. Stock frame rail, ladder bar cars allowed. Aftermarket bolt-in stock suspension. Must be able to make a 20 to 30 mile cruise. They randomly cruise, small tire, 275/60, 28-10-5, unless equipped with a larger tire. And the index will be drawn there, 650, 670, or 690. So that's going to be awesome. And then we're going to do the Catch Me If You Can challenge.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, so Duddy from Duddy's Adventure, he currently holds the record for fastest slow car in Texas at a 798 in the 8th mile at 88.6 miles an hour. It's a blistering, but he did it in competition, so it counts. Okay. And he's coming up here with that freaking Taco Express car, and he says he's taking everybody's money. And that's going to happen in the Catch Me If You Can class. The way that's going to work is Duddy's going to stage, and he's going to take off when the light turns green, and whoever has the slowest 60-foot.
I thought you said reaction time.
A reaction time, I'm sorry. Yeah. The slowest reaction time and beats him to the stripe wins the class. And
we're going to have some prizes for that. And all the money for the entries goes to charity. So
so you have to donate a minimum $5 to the Ryland Strong Network. You can donate more if you want to, but if you want a chance to swing at Duddy in the Catch Me If You Can race, then go ahead, have at it. He said he's going to bust everybody's ass on that, and then we're going to do the Streetcar Chronicles Top 10 Shootout. That's going to be a cluster F, but I plan on being at the top of that list at the end of the night. It's either going to be me, Richie, or Dave. It will not be the bacon strip or Carl's truck.
Are there any rules on power adders for the list?
No, dude, no, we don't do any rules. It's whatever you want to do. Yeah.
So the list also doesn't matter what the chassis of the car is or any of those things.
I don't care. This is Streetcar Chronicles. As long as it can be driven down the street, I don't care. Bring a steamroller car. Let's do it.
I will tell you one thing that I would change in your rules, but it may be too late because you've already said them. But for next year, is that whole whatever state you come from, whatever state the car is registered in, because some don't require inspections.
Yeah.
State of registry should have to match the driver's license of the guy driving it.
Ooh, well.
And the reason I say that is Aaron knows this because this is California guys. We used to have Arizona registered cars so that we didn't have to do emissions testing. But you lived in California and you registered your car in Phoenix. Yeah, no way.
Yeah.
So I say no for that for one simple reason. My car
is registered somewhere else.
So I have a cabin in Washington State, and for $80, you get a collector plate that's indefinite. You never have to renew it.
That's true. Yes.
So it's registered in a state I own property in. It's legal, but I have a Texas driver's license. So
yeah. So I'm okay with that because at the end of the day, look, did you come to race? Then race your freaking car, and
not your mouth, right?
Ray, see it, Ray, right there. I'm gonna SmackDown. I'm gonna change my car's name to SmackDown because I'm taking that car out.
Anybody got a car I can borrow? Anybody got a car I can borrow?
Yeah.
If you got a motor, you can put it in. I hope you like wheelies with no wheelie bars.
I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, Carl. I'm sorry about that. That was rude. But you were so rude at LSFest when I saw you. So rude.
Carl has been all fired up.
Carl's ready, dude. Carl's ready. He's an OG. He's an OG street guy. He started racing over cones. I don't really know what that's all about.
I know, right? That's weird.
Yeah, some people like to collect cones.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about your event.
But we didn't say when it was. June 10th, Cattle Mill, Red Line Raceway.
And
I-30.
And not only do we have a list race, we have the charity race, but there is Michael Hollis's Cheap Street is also running.
Fun and
Hollis, what's the purse? Well, we're not even going to say because Hollis's races always end up with like 3 or 4 days before the event, somebody puts up on Facebook, I'm putting 500 on the pot. And the next thing you know, there's like 5 other people that put 100 to 500 to 1,000, and then all of a sudden it's a real purse. So just know there will be something. Yeah.
If anybody is watching and wants to sponsor, just get with Michael Hollis there, and we're working on that.
Damn, Carl is evil.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Carl's a good one. I like Carl. Carl's feisty. He's
Michael Schultz says you're putting Honcho on the trailer. You don't even own a trailer, do you?
No, I do, and it will be on the trailer, but he will not be the one that puts me on the trailer.
Oh, you're gonna trailer it there?
Well, only because there's a shortage of E85 where I'll be in East Texas, so I'll have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Honcho doesn't really get good gas mileage. It's like 3 miles.
It's called miles per gallon.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's it.
I know. I ran on E85. But
whatever, Michael. Not every look, I was trying to be different. I'm not trying to put an LS in my car like everybody else.
Oh no, you got a man motor, a big black Chevrolet like God intended.
I got hair on my chest.
Yes.
I have an LS.
Nothing wrong with that.
Dang it.
There's nothing wrong with the LS. I love LS engines, but I'm also a big block fan.
Yeah.
You just you muted yourself there.
There's an LS on the other side of Honcho there. I don't want to tell everybody that.
What is it? Oh, no. What is it? You drive a Ram.
It's a 5.3 for Jake's truck.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah. Mountain
his
Murder.
son Jake is building an S10, so it'll be cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Michael Schultz says Big Block is a mountain motor.
Yeah, damn.
That's awesome. Whatever. Hey, whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's way bigger than a 5.3, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Alleyman 420 says he's driving from Redding, California. Bring it. That'd be awesome.
Come on.
Redding is
awesome.
way northern California.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we've got a guy coming from Arkansas. His name's Just Mopar Joe. He's bringing a 68 Barracuda, and he's a real racer. He's going to be looking to get down too. So
is the list? You don't have to live in Texas to be on the top 10 list, or have
so
you
the list is invite only at this point in time. But I'm working on a plan. So the list is for the people on the channel because we all I love all my friends as much as I'm talking to them right now. I love them all, and I couldn't imagine my life without them. Right. And but we do a lot of bench racing, and it's time to put up or shut up.
Right.
You know? And let's just fall in where we belong. And so this is for the people on the channel. Now I'm working on another idea that's called Stranger Danger class, which is like a top 10 class of cars that I don't know who the hell they are. And if they want to, maybe I don't know if we'll do it on this one, maybe the next one, but we'll do a top 10 Stranger Danger class, and then they can set their top 10, then we can smack our top 10 against their top 10.
Oh, I like it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. So we're I just want everybody, like I told them today, we were talking about some stuff today. I want everybody to come to the track that day and not only be there to celebrate me pushing 40, but I want everyone I want them to come to the track to have fun. And at the end of the day, I want everybody laughing, and I want them to get in the truck or their car, whatever, and drive home going, I don't know what the hell I just experienced, but it was a shit ton of fun.
Right.
And that's
pushing 40. You look 50.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Just 39 currently. 39 currently. Yeah. Time has not been. It's life has been it's a real kick in the balls.
People are asking where is Eric Smith? Is Eric still recovering?
So Eric had he had an elbow injury, and he had to go into the gynecologist to get some work done.
Yeah.
They did have him patched up. He has stopped.
That's why you don't use too much lube.
Yeah, that's what I told him. They had to work on his hand too. I was like, dude, how much you been doing this? So they got his hand fixed and they got his elbow fixed, so he should be back in full swing by the race. Yeah.
Is he gonna bring his car? He sold his car, didn't he?
Eric doesn't. So let's actually, we're gonna have a moment of silence for him at the race because technically he's dead to me inside because he doesn't have a cool car. Yeah, Paul, I wasn't gonna say that loud. Or Ray.
Yeah.
I hate seeing Paul first because Ray. Yeah, I didn't want to say it out loud, but yeah, he had to get some changes done. So. Yeah, he's dead to me inside. I love him like a brother, but he's dead to me because he doesn't have a car anymore, and that's fine. But he helps Richie out, so that's Team Flight Risk. So they'll be there in full swing. Me and Jake will be getting Honcho all suited and booted and ready to go. Of course, Dave will probably have to touch some stuff because Dave always has to touch my car in the computer area, but that's fine.
So we should talk about things to add to it to make sure it's at the top of the list.
Oh, yeah.
I have those things. I have the things. I have lots of the things.
Let's just say, I think everybody's going to be pleasantly surprised and a little overwhelmed at the same time.
Yeah, it'll be awesome.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Dave Elmore, can we talk about stock block racing? Why? There's no stock block racing doesn't matter anymore. Not since the LS, in my opinion, because you can make ridiculous power with the stock block LS.
Unless you got an 8.2 deck Ford. That's still cool.
But who cares? Why would anybody do that?
Nobody.
Exactly.
I mean, because all of the things those came in originally, an LS just falls into. So why would you do that? So, I feel like if you do stock bottom end, that's a thing. I'm fine with that. But stock block is like, going, I have the quickest red 1996 Mustang 5.0 with a 488 gear and this transmission and this converter and these lifters and this camshaft and that nitrous nozzle.
And that interior.
Yeah. And I'm like, no. That is the equivalent of being the Corvette guy in the New Balances and the members only jacket who goes, this is one of two that was ever made with this particular set of options.
You just made me think of something. I'm going to add a class to the race. Stock seat class.
There you go.
Yeah.
I used to live stream a series that we no longer live stream because I got so tired of it. I wanted to kill myself every time I live streamed it. And literally people would go, what's the difference between this class and the two previous classes where the cars ran the exact same ET as these, and they're all the same make of car and model, even if they're different years sprinkled between all three classes. So we used to joke about it, and we would mock like you were calling cars to the staging lane. So you'd be like, red Mustangs with blue shift knobs to the lanes, please. Red Mustangs with blue shift knobs to the lanes, please. This is your final call. And then next up, you'd be like, blue Mustangs with red shift knobs to the lanes, please. Blue Mustangs with red shift knobs to the lanes, please. That is a prime example of when a racer goes, that's not fair. I need my own combo for me and the 8 other people that think we're unfairly treated. And yet you all run the same ET. That's just.
Well, I mean, that could be a whole other show, but I mean, all the internet records out there, it's just complete BS. I mean, it's complete BS.
Well, the only record that stands is Duddy is the fastest slow car in competition with a 798 and 88 miles an hour this year in the 8th mile. And that is a proven time slip.
That's almost a Pinto driving backwards.
Wow. So at 88 miles an hour in the 8th mile?
Yeah. 88 and 88.4, I think, is what we got it to squeeze off there.
Huh. Okay.
194.66.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that thing backdoors and freight trains like a mother.
Oh, sounds like it. Sounds like it.
As soon as the secondaries kick in.
Like a mother, missing one leg with a cane and a walker.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, make no mistake, though. I'm going to put it out there. Anybody that goes into the Catch Me If You Can class, go ahead and get prepared. If you do not stripe that damn dart, he is going to ridicule you.
Oh, forever. Oh, my God.
You're never going to live it down.
No. But, okay, so is everybody going to get to see him make a test it to know what it runs ahead of time?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And you don't have to, if you're running him, you don't have to show a time. We don't care about that. It's all about who kicks the wind line on.
Well, right, but I want to know what he's running so I can know what I'm running to know how long do I wait, right? Like, so if I know that my car ran 598 and he runs 798, then I can go 1,002 and nail the throttle, and I know I've got a 1.5 second reaction time, but I can still beat him, right? Like,
I was thinking take a bite of the sandwich first and then leave the tree. And
I like it.
Yeah.
Make a phone call to decide if the Peep could keep up with that thing, but I don't think it can. The 88 mile an hour and 1/8 of a mile, I don't think the Peep has got that in.
Yeah, it's hey, like I said, that thing backdoors, you know. If it had a little more down low, it'd probably run a 90.
Dave Elmore, can we get a GoFundMe for Duddy for a converter and a camshaft? No, we cannot. No,
it's slowest reaction time. So Duddy leaves, and whoever hangs back the longest and beats him to the stripe. So you have to bring the time slip. I have to see it. We have to record it. We won't record the ET. We just need to record what your reaction time was.
And that you got the win. Yes.
Yeah, and you got the win light. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good, boys. I'm telling you, everybody's going to leave the track tonight going, I have no idea what the hell just happened. But man, awesome. I want to do that shit again. $10 to get in, $20 for a tech card. And if you want to grudge and you want to throw money in, well, that's all between you, your mama, your old lady, or whoever.
Right. Dave be a great time. Oh, God, my trans temp is going to be on fire.
Yeah, dude, I would suggest not getting on the brake.
Sit there. Yeah, I was going to say, like, hello.
I'd foot brake it.
Yeah, or drive it like a bracket racer, which means leave on the top bolt. Like, you can sit there for a while. You can let go of the button before it's up. Anyway, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Randy Young has, yes, to quote David Freiberger, driving a slow car fast is pretty damn fun. And you are correct.
Yes.
All right. Well, boys, seriously, thank you for joining me tonight. Ryan, as always, great having you. Aaron, you are welcome anytime, my friend. Super good to have you on the show. Again, if you're looking for a third member for your 9-inch, 9.5, or 10-inch ring gear, street or race rear end, call Texas Precision Performance, and Aaron can help you out. And he had to find his own thing.
Yeah,
I don't know where it is. It's there.
I don't know. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah, exactly. What's the website?
TexasPrecisionPerformance.com.
TexasPrecisionPerformance.com. Go visit them, and you will get some good information. You can talk to Aaron, and he'll get you a price, whether you're looking for a spool setup or a locker or whatever. Let him know, and he'll get you sorted. 9-inch rear in a drag car, street car, or off-road truck, whatever your 9 inches in, he can help you with. So hit him up. June 10th, join us at Redline Raceway. It's going to be stupid.
Hell yeah.
In all the right ways.
I'm trying to figure out how to get there. So, yep.
Okay.
Get it.
Awesome. We'll make it happen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys so much. Boys, I will see you later. We're about to be out of here. See ya.